So, Stefan, welcome, and the floor is yours. Guys, enjoy.
Pleasure to be here. This was such an awkward for me, the introduction, but at the same time very cute. So thank you, Alex, a lot. It's really a pleasure to be here. I started my Agile journey actually by attending the Agile Humans Lean Coffee Meetup exactly 5 years ago. It was November. And my current colleagues brought me there to meet up the community, to meet the community. And it was at that time, it was in person. So the whole vibe was amazing. Yasmina also being there and facilitating everything. It's just a pleasure to be now on the other side here. As Alex made an introduction, we will talk about OKRs today. But from a little bit different perspective, I really don't want to give you a lecture on OKRs. There's a bunch of online resources, bunch of courses that you could take. And even though it is for a lot of people new topic, it is a very long time with us. So there's a lot of resources. And my goal for today was that I share the lessons. Some of them might be controversial, not a lot, but a little bit, but they are coming from how I experience the framework in different environments, implementing it in different environments, and how I struggled with it, mainly struggled with it, but at the same time loving it. So I'm gonna share my presentation, just a second, and then we can slowly start. Let me know when it's on. So yeah, I'm not gonna explain to you again my biography, but I do want to answer the question why me? Why me talking about this topic? So basically, OKRs were with me since the very beginning of my career. I had this luck to meet them at Robert Bosch in the Power Tools division, where we started implementation in one of the departments I was supporting as a pioneering the pilot department. So basically, since then, and getting certified with WorkPath, learning a lot from these experienced coaches, OKR, I've basically transferred this experience to implementing the OKRs not only in big corporations but also small companies and teams, departments of different industry companies, but also in the private life. So I also mark an important milestone for me when I was holding my first OKR practitioners and OKR coaches trainings, and also very grateful for support and work with Yasmina here in this topic. As Alex mentioned, also there are other interesting areas that if some of you also find them interesting, we could connect. Maybe the most important one for me at the moment is the building up the sustainable communities. This side project of mine that we are trying to create in the Central Serbia. But yeah, without further ado, maybe just a little bit about you guys, just so I know who am I talking to. If you have your phones or phones, you can scan this QR code and just go into the Mentimeter. I will run a short survey. But also, how many people do we have, Alex, here?
Well, here is 17 people right now, I would say. And if you don't mind, I would use this opportunity to invite all the participants to rename their information, their Zoom information. Actually, I would like to ask you to write fully your name and surname, because Agile Humans Lean Coffee Meetup Group have some intention to make some special parts of meetups, upcoming meetups, where we would like to reward participants that are often parts of our meetups. So use the opportunity to share the information with us so we can include you in that program. Stefan, thank you.
Yeah, and also if you feel like turning on your cameras, always a good help for a presenter. So are you managing with the presentation, with the Mentimeter, opening up the slides? I see some answers already.
Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot. So I see the experience somewhere around closer to worst nightmare, which I like. I would also probably put it there myself. But yeah, okay. I'm not managing to see the open-ended. But yeah, for me, it was constantly shifting between these two extremes. We say cveće proleće in our local language, in the brightest moments when I see that there is that the team is getting this aha moment in the process of defining their OKRs, all the way to having the sleepless nights and worst nightmares when there are people constantly being frustrated that they have now to use some logic of outcome thinking and the logic of outcome setting, goals setting based on outcomes. But yeah, based on your experience, I see OKR project lead, and we are in a slow rollout that is exciting and challenging. Love to hear your experience. Hope that we can engage in some discussions here. And we also have some people with no experience, only basic theoretical knowledge. I wouldn't be going through this basic elements too much, just a little bit, especially in those elements where I think that there is a lot of noise online, and that might be valuable for us to just have a short reflection on it, and that I share my insights. This is the agenda for today. So we're going to start with those basic elements or beliefs that through my experience with OKRs, I kind of challenged and shaped. And to be honest, I don't know whether it's true. It's probably true for some contexts. For some contexts, it's not. So whatever I say here for you, to you, I want that you take it a little bit with a reserve, and that you're just aware of this contextual aspect of the OKRs. I've seen many different implementations of OKRs which failed, but I also see I've seen different implementations of OKRs with something that maybe I would say today this is not the way to do it, which actually helped organizations and teams at that moment, at that maturity level. So yeah, as with many things that we here in Agile there is no silver bullet. So this is also the case with OKRs, but there are some personal learnings which I think are valuable for you all. So this is what we're gonna talk about in the first step of the agenda. Then I will talk about 10 traps, and excuse my language, the 10 silly and big mistakes that me and my team went through during one implementation of OKRs, that now when I reflected on them, and so I was like, what the hell, Stefan, were you thinking about? How couldn't you not known that? But basically, why am I telling you this? These are the things that I wish somebody came and told me, hey, pay attention to this. Pay attention to this, however stupid they might say. Then I would like to hear a little bit about your struggles, your experience, and we'll have a short recap with some of the OKR wisdoms and also like a small sharing of how do I use OKRs in personal life. There is an interesting moment in my presentation that I hope it won't fail, but so play along with me. Okay, so I want to start with answering question, what is OKR framework? So OKRs or OKR framework, they're basically a tool that helps us set and track goals. Leadership tool for setting goals through organization from the top to the bottom. And basically they're used for individuals, teams, and organization to define these, and this is what you hear a lot with OKRs, measurable goals and track their progress. And there is this famous quote of John Doerr saying that ideas are pressures, but it's execution that's everything. You heard this, right? Well, for me, this is a myth. I wouldn't say so. I had this slide when I was first implementing OKRs, and I would probably never use it again. I would use it if I'm trying to convince leadership because to start thinking about having this tool. But for me, OKRs are not the tool that helps us set and track goals. It is partially true that they are, but stating this is not portraying my experience with OKRs in terms of the value that they should bring to us. OKRs are the tools for facilitating discussions, for starting your most important discussion. And I had this was epiphany moment for me when I was struggling in Bosch, implementing with many teams, more than 300 people, talking to them every quarter, and there was just so much frustration. And I came to my mentor at that time, and he told me, like, don't get stressed about whether this objective is written how we want them to be, or the key result is written. What's most important is that the teams in these regular intervals discuss about what really matters to them, and that we have some structure to guide them into thinking about what is this value that they want to create. So this is why I say it's a myth to say that OKRs are a tool for setting and tracking goals. I don't like naming them this way. I think also this leads to some then false in the implementation that we will talk a little bit later. But really, for me, I would say this is the point, that we put our teams into the space that they talk about and define what actually matters. So one of the epiphany moments that I had once I was trying to convince also part of the leadership, which was not having a real buy-in into starting with OKRs, was that I realized OKRs are there basically to help us change how people think from the output way of thinking, where we get certain tasks from certain people, certain levels, stating us, do this, do that, create this output, create that output, to the way of thinking where we ask within the team, what is the value that we want to create, and how I and how we as a team will know that we created it. So this was the essential when I needed to summarize OKRs, the change that OKRs will bring to our, at the moment, top leadership. I put this slide and I said, hey guys, the OKRs are there to help us change how each team member is thinking, from what do I need to do to what value do I want to create for whom, and how will I know that I created it. And on the other side, it's also change in management way of thinking, where basically they're now having the task to lead by outcomes rather than leading by outputs. Little bit louder. Okay. Is it getting any better?
From my side, it was great from the beginning, man. So no worries.
Okay, okay, sounds good. Okay, so so this was yeah, something I wanted to start with. And as we were talking about this measurable aspect of OKRs, usually OKRs are portrayed as something something that provides the solution for tracking the team's activities, for achieving most important outcomes, measuring the value created for team's customer, and measuring the effect of work achieved on the company success. Is it somebody sees something wrong here? No. Okay, because there is, and this is another myth. And why I wanted to stress this is that I encountered a situation where organization, upon introducing the OKRs, was thinking that OKRs are this holy grail, this silver bullet, that only that now is important, only that this is what we need, and we don't need anything else. But in fact, OKRs are there not to be covering these two aspects, for which we have different types of frameworks or different ways of tracking, etc. OKRs are there, and this is what I want you to take with you, that this gap that OKRs are fulfilling is actually the gap of measuring the value created for the team's success. And thus this slide to portray where is this gap actually that OKRs come in. So with OKRs will not replace the team's task tracking tools, whatever the tools they use. They will not replace the management KPIs, and they should be something different, something that pushes us to think about the effect of the work or the result of the work on somebody who is our customer as a team, whether it's an internal or external, not important. But I think this slide for me helped convey this message. Where do OKRs fall? With what is this gap that they are fulfilling? So you with following from left to right, you get the idea. So in the team area, we do have some project management tools where we do track the work that needs to be done, the tasks, activities, and we do track the outputs that we have. And on the other side, we do have these business results, which are necessary to be tracked, such as example of it, like a cost reduction in service area, while the example for the outcome or the effect of the work is that this customer, for example, asks for less support, while then in the team area we would have outputs and to-dos which are necessary for this value to be created. So basically, outcome is this change in human behavior that drives the business results that we want to affect with our work. How does this sound? All good? Not bullshitting too much? Aika's gonna kill me. One of my current clients and colleagues. We're happy to see you here. Okay, so yeah, there is a lot of talk about these different elements of OKRs. In some of my implementations, I reduce the whole noise, whole buzz to these simple three 3 questions. And I don't even use OKR term anymore, or I don't need to mention it, as long as we talk about these elements, especially the first 2, which are basically objective and key results. So what value do we want to create, for whom, and how will we know we created this value? Upon that, we can engage into these talks about the initiatives, or how will we, what will we do in order to create these. And for sure, these are these elements that all of you saw them. What I wanted to portray here, okay, it's easy, it's simple. But there is a lot of different elements that we can that we can set in our implementations that will help us extract the benefits of promised benefits of OKRs. And I call this OKR ecosystem. And in this OKR system for me, there is easy elements that we can influence. Those easy elements are OKR elements, meaning these objectives, key results, initiatives. How do we set them? Setting the quality guidelines, setting the learning people through setting the templates, teaching people through setting the templates for them to practice this outcome way of thinking, and separate it from output, which is very, very hard for most of the people. There is this OKR architecture, basically, that then is portraying how, in which teams in the organization are we setting the OKRs? Where are these actual teams that should be gathered and should engage into discussion about the value creation? There is an OKR process, which is basically something that guides us through time, through smaller cycles. OKR types, different types of OKRs. I'm sure you've talked about, heard about these aspirational OKRs. And then also stuff like OKR ceremonies and the very execution of these ceremonies, how we can, through customizing, tailoring these ceremonies, incentivize the behaviors that we want and these discussions that we want into the team. And also OKR roles, which I think are necessary, especially in a bigger presentation, a bigger implementation. I wanted here just to talk about the OKR architecture, and yeah, I kind of gave it up. Accidentally had 2 clicks, but yeah, for OKR architecture can be presented like this, with these pictures. First time I heard about OKRs, and when I was starting the implementation with first team, I pulled out this example of the football OKR. And if any of you listened to John Dollar ever, this most famous talk of his, or read the book, you for sure heard this story about setting the OKRs for the football team. And this is what basically is the OKR architecture, where upper levels objective and key results become the objective of the bottom level. So this is why in this example we have on a level of general manager, key result to fill stands to 88%. Then the head of PR is having this as his objective, fill stands, and having his own key results. Then specific teams below are having these key results as objectives. But this is a myth, another one, which unfortunately we experienced in this first implementation of ours, that is not right, that does not bring us to desired discussions that we want in our teams. This is why I call it another, and I promised last mythbuster of today. So basically, this OKR architecture is better portrayed like this, and it's better portrayed by stating that OKRs are basically always loosely coupled between different levels. So they're an invitation, and it is that upper levels OKRs are the input for the discussions of the about OKRs of the lower levels. This is the another misconception that people usually make, the mistake that we make. I'm not saying also that the first way of setting them is not going to bring some value, especially if there is in this one imaginable context of the company a need for the clear focus on this one most important goal, and you want to just go top down and get it all the way to the teams level, then maybe this will work. But for the true benefit of the OKR and OKR framework and the true value, that beauty that they can bring to the organization, this is not the way how to do it. It is through having these loosely connected levels, where we are taking the input of the upper level, we are taking the OKR of the upper level as an input for our discussion about the OKRs. Okay. So another thing comes to this to mind when we talk about these levels. So what we also did as a that now I can see was a mistake was, okay, we sat down with the leadership team, we defined the strategy 3 years ahead, we defined the objectives, company or the department objectives for the next year, and then teams went into the quarterly mode of setting the goals quarter by quarter. And what was missing was the part of this OKR process that would make OKRs actually help us work on this organizational agility. So the idea is that also OKRs help us transfer from this linear model of strategic pyramid, where we go from vision, mission, all the way to the tasks and execution, to the circular model, where we basically feed the strategy and feed the company yearly objectives through the learnings from the cycles. So this is another point that I wanted to highlight, that there needs to be a connection, which from my experience, especially starting as a inexperienced coach, was extremely hard to make this loop back to the strategies on the 3-year level, and also company objectives on a yearly level. But yeah, when we talk about this OKR architecture, this is what I'm referring to, having this connection between the different levels in a loose way, and having the circular model of strategy execution. Okay, any thoughts on this so far? Something you disagree with? Yelena, another colleague, dear colleague of mine.
It's clear.
You kill me.
I don't disagree with anything at the moment.
Thanks, Yelena. Okay, so yeah, these were the some of the myths. I explained to you these easy parts of the easy elements of the OKR ecosystem, but in this endeavor of yours, of ours, of implementing OKRs, I find it that there are also some not so easy elements to influence, and these are actually the ones that we're going to talk about a little bit later, but that create the biggest problems. So one, company culture, mindset, and these common unwritten rules by which people learn to operate in certain environments. Definitely a true leadership buy-in, not just saying buy-in because the manager above that they are willing to invest in OKRs because the management above said that we need to, but truly believe that this is something that can help them and their teams. Process evaluation, performance evaluation process and incentive mechanisms as something that ultimately drives the behaviors of the people, and that if set in a wrong way, or I'm lacking the word here, contradictory way to what we want to achieve with OKRs, can significantly diminish the what we want to achieve with OKRs, and also the organizational structure and the setup of the teams. For me, these were the biggest problems in the biggest hurdles in the implementation of the OKRs, and I'm going to tell you about a little bit more about these fails that I had because of it. But yeah, I finished this part of the small these basic core messages about the OKRs. Of course, there is much more. Yeah, I hold the training of 2 days talking about only the OKR elements from the ecosystem that I've shown you above, and definitely there is also much more that we can do in order to experience the promised benefits of transparency, benefits of customer centricity, metric driven operations, and focus, alignment, etc. There are a bunch of these different small things that we can do, some of which we will talk about now, but definitely, yeah, I will skip that skip that part for this lecture. So I just want to highlight again that it is about the context in which you're operating. It's your task to assess the situation and what is the primary motivation behind the implementation of something like OKRs, and decide what is these primary benefits, that decide how are you going to achieve these prioritized benefits that suit the context. So yeah, as for many things, it's all about the context in which you are operating. I just want to check one message. No sound? Okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine right now. Don't worry.
Okay. So let's go through one small journey of failures and some lessons learned. So sorry about the icon, but there will be a lot of it now. I will share with you 10 of these craps that I experienced in my journey with this one company, and yeah, 7 of them will be a little bit less craps, smaller craps as I call them, and 3 will be the biggest ones, the most influential ones that really caused the frustration, that really made us almost give up on OKRs. A little bit about the context of this company that I'm gonna be talking to you about, or this department in this situation. So what happened was that a leader of the department went to Google on like a study visit, and there she saw this OKR way of work, OKR way of leading, and she got inspired and came back to us agile coaches and demanded that we start the implementation of OKRs as soon as possible. We started like maniacs, looking what resources we can grab to understand what is it actually that this OKR thing is about. We took, my first book was actually Radical Focus, that gave me first ideas about the OKRs. We read the books, we listened to the online content, and we had this approach of let's just start as soon as possible so that we can learn, and from this learning improve as soon as possible. But this was also in the situation where all of us had our primary teams, our primary responsibilities that we needed to take care of. We split the department based on the teams that already existed in this department, which were created basically from the recent reorganization. And we went head first into the implementation with 300 people being the pioneer for this bigger group within which our department was. Small disclaimer though, I'm going to talk about the craps and all the mistakes and problems that we had. But actually, it was a real joy to be in this company and learn and have this opportunity to experiment with all these people in such a great environment. If you want to learn more about it, there is also a really nice book, Doing Agile Right, Transformations Without Chaos, published also locally here by Finessa, where there is a description of some parts of what we did basically in this company. So let's start with these small craps. And the fail number one that we had was that we didn't do proper unified education for all the teams and the coaches. We went head first. We relied on books and online content, and we didn't invest in a proper education. So there was, even though we had these sessions where we discussed about it, within the Agile coaches, a slightly different understanding on what OKRs are. So from there, this amplified to the teams that individual coaches were supporting. And what I would put now as a improvement for us, if I could go back to that point, was that we jointly create the education for the team members through creation of this OKR handbook, something that gives us these borders or limits within which we should operate, and that this is something that is specific to our context. There is many different tools providing different templates for implementation of the OKRs and on the market, and there is this threat for you if you're starting now that we basically fell into, or trap, that everybody did it in their own way, and then everybody also provided the education on what OKRs are, and this caused us some problems and delayed us in creating actually understanding of in the teams what we actually want to achieve. And that another mistake was definitely that we didn't took it for serious, the capacity or the level of involvement the proper implementation of the OKRs would need. And this quality of education I link to the dedication of the capacities as well, not only to not having the standard. The next mistake that we had, the fail number 2, was that, okay, we did the educations, was crappy, different, but people more or less understood that there is now a new thing called OKRs, objectives, key results, and that they should draft their OKRs for the first cycle. For the first cycle. What does a proper education look like? A question from Rachel. So fast forward in this situation, we realized we messed it up. We realized we created more and more noise and misunderstandings in the company, and there is increasing dissatisfaction or frustration with the whole framework. And then we reach out for experts. We contacted consultancy agency, which helped us with implementation of the software tool for tracking OKRs, but mainly and most valuably for us, with giving us the education on the OKRs based on their implementations, many implementations. So we basically invested into getting the certifications for the OKR coaches, getting also their experts train us how to do the trainings, and supporting us in doing the trainings with the leadership. So this is what I would say is the proper education. Or I think I give this tip in some of the other fails, that it would be a good idea to find somebody who already did it before to share the knowledge, experience, and help you draft then this like a set strategy to creating the proper the understanding within the teams, what really OKRs are and why are they there now as a method of starting the discussions and setting goals, etc. So yeah, I hope I answered the question, Rachel.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And we started with the first cycle, with the first quarter, and basically there, what happened again? Everybody had their own approach to how to execute this drafting workshop. We call this definition of OKRs actually a drafting workshop, and here I also this process that each coach had was unique, leading to the different quality of OKRs, written OKRs. And if I have to go again back to it again, I would suggest that we needed to have the predefined handbook describing also these ceremonies that we have within the OKR process, and describing the steps that how you guide this discussion of the team in these drafting workshops, where actually they need to create, and this is usually what the best way through time that we found was that we collectively define the priorities of the jobs to be done for the team, and then through the work groups in the smaller group in the teams, we divide what are the outputs, what are actually the outcomes, and prioritize then these outcomes through different steps in order to reach to 3 or maximum 5 for each team. What happened to be was that some coaches had a different approach. They allowed more OKRs. They allowed that the key results are pure outputs, and this just created a mess. Some people had a wrong impression on what OKRs from the very start, so it was very much harder for us later to change this. But yeah, we were ignorant at this point. we didn't seek out for the people with previous implementation experience. We thought, yeah, we're clever, we can do it alone, we can read and listen and listen to podcasts and YouTube videos and read the blogs. But definitely now I would immediately go and seek the somebody with the previous with the experience of the previous implementation. And what I think also at that point we made, we had as a mistake that caused this not unified approach to execution of the workshops as well, was that there was no lead OKR implementation person. So there, we all shared the responsibility, even though yeah, some people took it more serious, but there was no main responsible for the quality of implementation. And yeah, when we talk about these OKR roles that I mentioned in the ecosystem, this is what I'm referring to. One of these roles is actually the OKR lead or program lead or whatever you call it, but somebody with the responsibility for the standard of the implementation, quality of implementation. Okay. Then we realized that we had no proper communication strategy. There was this hype that started everything, starting from the leader, and it was this sudden boom implementation. Let's do it as soon as possible. Let's learn, iterate, and learn through iterations. And this was not a good approach. Also, throughout the implementation in the following years, we had not consciously thought about how, through communication, do we raise the understanding of people's understanding of why we have OKRs, how do we create this transparency on different teams OKRs, how do we raise the commitment by raising this transparency. And this is why at the point when we got this professional help, one of the main points for us was, let's craft the communication strategy. Let's include HR. Let's make HR part of our implementation team and formalize this pilot that we've been trying in this department of the organization. And especially there, and I'm going to talk a little bit later about that more, but especially there, I think for us, we realized it was a mistake that we didn't answer in a clear way, sent to everybody the same, some tough questions that people had. Predominantly the questions about how these goals now or objectives will affect their salaries or the very performance evaluation process. And this communication strategy I think would help at the beginning a lot, but it would also help us to keep OKRs alive through the cycles as people go on and with their work and focus on their tasks. They forget, but small reminders, small success stories, small examples would and then have brought us this aliveness of the whole process, kept the buzz, and also provided a bit of significance of the weight to the whole thing. And the other side was also that it created a sort of a commitment of teams, because now their targets, their objectives and key results were shared with everybody in the organization, which was part of our communication strategy. And another mistake then that we made in these early times was that we went full transparency approach when defining the OKRs. So my first one of my first workshop outputs of the drafting of OKRs actually look like this. And you can see it on the right. There is like a gazillion of the objectives and key results. And we were happy at that time because, wow, now we are finally aware of what is all on the team's plate. Yeah. But in the retrospect, this brought very little value after this point because very few things were also cut. And we remained having all of these as one team, in this case, a data analytics team, OKRs. And yeah, this was specifically hard for several reasons. And what was the maybe predominant one was that leaders didn't want to push too much the team members to cut on the outputs that they were working on and not include them in the OKRs. And basically they were just allowing, okay, this is also there, what we are doing, and it should be, this is also what we are doing. So we would end up with having just a list of everything that we are doing transferred into a little bit of different wording as objectives and key results, but basically the same what we had before. And what I think would be a better step at this point was that we had special leadership, like a series of trainings and explanations on how actually leaders benefit of OKRs implementation, answering for them what's in it for me. Because what I noticed in these drafting sessions, when these discussions were happening, leaders were hesitant to push people to prioritize, to push the teams really be strict with prioritization and defining only 3 or 5 objectives of the team. So yeah, this was fail number 4, leading us to fail number 5, where there was, after the drafting, it was a time for us, okay, now what do we do with these OKRs? And we had tools, project management tools that we were using, that we were proficient with, and a common way of thinking in the group, and with also the leadership that we talked to, was let's utilize these existing project management tools. And in this case, it was Jira, and we tried tracking OKRs in a Jira, and it was a mess. And we had a perfect idea how to do it, how to connect it, but after a couple of quarter cycles, we created a monster. We created a monster, and we realized it's not going to work. It just is too cluttered, too many things on the board. People used in also using Jira in a way. Now it's a different way because it's a different completely topic. And what I realized at that point, it's either brutally simplified, having a Word document per team shared in one shared drive of all the teams, explain with these 3 questions that we talked about: portraying objectives, key results, initiatives, or invest in some of the OKR tools. Now they're even more spread. There's even bigger palette of them to be used. But we should be also careful with what tool are we using. As you know, everybody at the mention of the new tool being implemented are getting chills, but in a negative way. So yeah, it is the tip that we should always try to lower the amount of the tools, or at least look out for the tools that have integration with the already tools that we are using. But ultimately, for your context, it might be a good decision. And we used one of these tools, and through time, people accepted it. People accepted it. We defined the distinctions in the usage. So what do you use Jira for? What do you use this tool, OKR tracking tool for? We made a clear distinctions. We explained when to use what, and through time the acceptance rate got really higher. But yeah, the tracking of the OKRs is definitely something that is a pain point in a lot of implementations, because of course we need to be disciplined, we need to reflect in regular cycles, to not forget about those, put them in some document and look at them only at the end of the cycle. They should be there to guide us throughout the cycle, to give us the knowledge, are we on the right path, right track of creating this value that we promised. Then what happened after a while, after several cycles, we got these objectives that were constantly repeating. And of course, they were something that was most generic, the easiest for them to create, and for teams to create, and something that was always true. And we call those evergreen objectives. And it took us a while to realize, okay, this is now the problem, because why are we writing them? There's no value in it, repeating it from time to time. We need to be more specific in the objectives. And we also had these key results slowly, as it started from the beginning, that some coaches allowed output key results, not actually being the measures key results, but the initiatives or bigger to-dos or projects, the deliverables that teams are going to have. It spread because it was easier for teams to define it. And yeah, what I had then as a realization was that when we did these exercises with the leadership, or the higher levels in the hierarchy, the OKRs were more broad, more vague, and I think it is necessary to allow this. But as you go down in the levels, there should be always seeking of more concreteness in order to specify what is actually that we want to achieve in the next cycle. What is this value that we want to create for whom? And then the last small fail was that even when we reached through then bunch of time invested in coaching people, asking questions, and through questions making them understand and realize that they didn't put actually measures, they didn't put actually outcomes there. And when they actually created these good quality OKRs and key results, it happened that nobody invested into actually measuring them, tracking them. We had these quantitative and qualitative key results, which were supposed to paint the picture from both sides. But especially these qualitative key results, where things like asking the customer, getting the customer feedback, or getting the peer reviews on certain outputs that should create some value for the internal team. Those people just didn't invest into measuring them. And later on, I realized it was because we didn't make a big deal out of the review part of the process. We neglected it. So there was no loop close, which should have increased the accountability. And we didn't invite all the team's most important stakeholders. And also, we did have these reviews internally, and we did ask for the learnings and the highlights and the learnings from failures and learnings from successes, but we didn't ask them to give to demonstrate the value that they created, which is actually what matters, because they should have focus their effort into creating these most important values for then these most important stakeholders. And having this big deal review with all the stakeholders there, and the stage sets in such a way that like in Scrum team, the increment is presented and the value is demonstrated and given into the hands of the client or customer. This would have made a decision. And also we didn't make all OKRs transparent to the whole company. Here the communication strategy helped to have the moment that when the drafting period finishes as a moment where the OKRs go into the world. They go into the whole company as a sort of a commitment of the team to a certain value delivered. And yeah, this we thought we had with Jira, but it was too cluttered, it was too complex, and the quality of writing of objectives and key result wasn't in a way that it actually provided this transparency to everybody's OKRs in the organization. Okay, so these were the small big craps or the failures that we had. But when I reflect on what actually made us suffer, both coaches and employees or the team members, was these 3 points. First of them being, and carrying the biggest weight, not having a unanimous answer on what is the OKR connection with performance evaluation process. So you must have heard so far about these advices: divorce the performance evaluation process and OKRs. And here we made this classical mistake. At the moment, OKR, Agile coaches and the guys who had the responsibility of implementing within the teams, we and I also weren't aware of this unclarity and the negative effect it would have on the people, until I got a message from a colleague and one of the team members stating this, where basically it was said by HR that OKRs will be used for evaluation of the personal performance regarding year-end conversation and the salary discussion, even though and some of the leaders were communicating differently. So there was a mess in the communication. How actually these OKRs are going to be used in the process of performance evaluation. And as my dear colleague here also mentioned, it led to everybody trying to reflect their topics in OKRs. And this is why we had these, you saw the big monster with many objectives and key results, because everybody needed to put their objectives and things that they were working on into objectives and key results, because otherwise they would feel that they are not important and that they are not going to be properly, that this part of evaluating their performance or contribution to the team goals is going to be zero. So they pushed really hard for all of their to-dos to be included in OKRs, and this really created bunch of mess that for us it was very hard to fix. And I don't think I left the company at one point, and I still don't think that we managed to fix it, but definitely I would point out this as a big failure, that since the beginning there was no clear unanimous agreement on what is this connection between the performance evaluation process and OKRs. In my in my coaching work, I always remind when I talk to HR leaders or management that I remind them about this Goodhart's law which states that when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. And when I try to actually when I try to convince them to separate the OKRs from the performance evaluation process, and this is actually what I also experienced, that we, by doing so, evaluating person's performance and providing the incentives based on it, based on the OKRs, we are providing an incentive for them to manipulate the measure in order to receive the reward. And these consequences were obvious, that there was this stuffing the turkey, which I mentioned previous, or everybody putting their outputs, things that they're doing on in the OKR process just to be more important and be sure that it's going to be there and measured, evaluated as in the process of performance evaluation. But also the consequence was that there's going to be now more and more people who are setting the less ambitious targets, or basically, as the term describes this, the sandbagging. Yeah, and this was also partially connected to our big fail, which we realized only 2 or 3 years later. A long time. I must say, I was ashamed when I was creating this presentation, but I decided to share anyway. We didn't connect the budgeting process with the OKRs in a proper order. So what happened was that the budget discussion would happen first in September, November, and there the resources were allocated to the projects or to the outputs. And only after that we would engage into the leadership discussion on what should be the next year OKRs, which made no sense, because already these decisions about the budget were created. The people's effort were dedicated already to certain things, and this discussion made really little sense, leading to us trying to rephrase the output into the outcomes or creating just the pro forma OKRs. And also with this having there set on a yearly basis before we engage at the drafting of OKRs, made the whole bottom-up aspect of OKRs, or this loop that I presented you at the beginning, just a fiction and just a formality that we talk about. Yes, OKRs provide us that, but actually no, because at the end the resources were dedicated to the projects, to the outputs that we should work on in the next year, which provided very little true agility. And the third point, which also caused so much frustration, was that we were pushing hard to set the OKRs with the teams and not teams, real teams. And what I mean by this was that coming from the fresh reorganization, this department was organized in sort of the expertise. You saw there one of these teams was data analytics team, but this team actually was working on many different projects, creating many different values for different stakeholders, including also different people contributing to this value creation from other parts of the organization. So the true team was not that team. It was it was all around the organization, consisted of people contributing to a specific value creation. And it took us a while to realize this, that the reason why we are struggling so much was that we didn't have actually the good basis, we didn't have proper people in these teams to support the OKR way of thinking, what OKRs should actually give us. And yeah, what ever since then I've been talking was that teams that we should set OKRs with should be consisted of people who are involved into the whole value creation stream. And this requires also that we don't follow the organizational structures. And from my perspective, this was the solution for this company that would affect significantly how this OKR implementation would and unravel. And definitely the consequences of having this situation were that at times we had disinformed OKRs because the decision makers, the people with the input for the certain value creation, were spread all around. We didn't bring them into the same room to have this discussion about what really matters, what is the value that we want to create. And we had a meaningless review process because we had only part of these value creation streams, only part of people from these streams in the teams that were responsible for the whole value creation, making the whole review process then just simply useless. But yeah, this was extremely hard, and actually there was upon realization of Agile coaches of this, and I put this as a last fail for the reason because I think this affected everything else the most, next to the performance evaluation fail, that we tried suggesting to move into the defining the OKRs not based on the org structure but based on the value creation streams, which at the end wasn't accepted by this current leadership structure. And yeah, we went back into the mode of utilizing the OKRs only in the specific, utilizing them with aim of getting specific benefits, and also pushed me out of the company. So yeah, these were the 10 fails that we experienced in this implementation. And definitely, if these 3 big ones I would have to go back and fix, I would, one, not have the direct connection between performance evaluation and OKRs measurement and OKRs, but only have them indirectly be connected to it through feedback that leaders would get about the team members from other team members that they were collaborating the most, and from these discussions that would happen with leaders and team members. Since second, we would have aligned the budget and resource allocation discussion time with the OKR cycle, that they're basically in one. That OKRs also help us define where do we allocate our budget. And 3, we would not follow the org structure unless it was created around the value streams. Yeah, so these were the most important three learnings. And yeah, do you have some questions, or would you maybe share some of your struggles with OKRs that we could maybe just have a small chat about? I'll try to see you now if there's anybody else. Josip, still here. Thank you.
Guys, use this opportunity to ask any questions if you like, because this is the very end of the night session. And if you have any struggles, or if you want to ask Stefan something about OKRs, or maybe to share some opinions, please do it now.
Yeah, have you encountered some of these fails? Have you made some of those in your journeys before?
Yeah, I suppose there are some questions in chat. Maria actually asked something. And there is Rachel. Rachel shared some thoughts, I would say, yeah. So how
granular should the teams be? Higher granulation seems to be more in line with individual performance measurement, which you said we should avoid. When you say how granulated should the teams be, you mean
to which level should we go with the KPIs? Because you mentioned to avoid organizational structure, to look at the value streams, but you can really go very granulated with the value streams. So what would be the perfect cutoff line basically for the value added and the team's measurement?
So I would stop at the level of the project. The level of the project which has certain project management people in it, which has certain the delivery people in it, and yeah, not go further. And I would not go also because in my experience we had many of the small projects, like because we didn't have only the delivery teams, IT delivery teams, we had also business teams, and then these teams were like 1, 2, 3 persons in it, working on some small like procedure or process, and there you should also avoid to fall into the trap of setting the OKRs for all of these small initiatives, but only that you see what is it that's most important within this to follow the organizational structure. And within this organizational structure, let's say a department or so, identify what are the most important value creation streams, and collect then people from other parts of organization that contribute to these value creation streams. So what I tried with this organization was, okay, guys, we are in this team, but who gives them that we are in this team and these other guys are not, but they are working with us on creating this most important value for the organization that we are creating. Let's bring them in and talk about with them, setting the proper measurements, setting the proper objectives. So you will have the task, the JIRAs, you will have the sprints for all the teams there. For you will have this complete overview of everybody on the lowest level of granularity. With OKRs, we go to maybe a step above.
Perfect. Thanks.
Rachel?
Thanks, Maria. Rachel is here.
One of our big struggles is true leadership buy-in. Executive leadership who choose to implement OKRs for transparency and alignment, but they are not agile in the way they set goals. They're not used to be so hands-on in this process. Yeah. When you say that they're not agile in the way they set goals, is it maybe connected to this fail that I had with the budget planning process and the moment at the beginning, if you remember, that I said that we would set the company goal for a year and never come back to it until the end of the year. This is what you mean?
Yes, exactly. 1 year or 5 years, they kind of just set it and forget it and let everyone else worry about it.
Yeah. For us, it was really a moment and this is unfortunately only when these external consultants came to help us, you need to get them on a quarterly level, the leadership team in the room to reevaluate the progress of these most important company objectives, because the idea was that we make transparent to how all the team's objectives contributed to these company main yearly OKRs. And then we would reevaluate whether something is going not as per plan, or whether circumstances would change, have changed, so that we need to then adapt. But because we had this budget thing behind, it was really hard also to change, and then also we would go into all sorts of a discussion. But yeah, my experience was that also there was no true leadership buy-in, and that there was a more, and maybe you would connect this also, shorter term point of view, where they required the outputs, and this is what was necessary, you know,
Yes.
to justify their positions, because especially in corporation, I don't know, where do you come from?
From the North Dakota, US. So it is a large corporation.
Large corporation, yeah, especially, and I faced later on in some situations exactly the same thing. It is this is what I say, the unwritten way of common ways of behaving in the organization, especially the middle management and the higher levels of management are used to justifying these budgets, and they need the outputs, they need the flashy presentations, and you know, with thinking about the value creation and the effect that you had on something, it's not as straightforward to justify your existence.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Boyan, will we get to see the personal OKRs? yeah. I will go later through it. If you brutally simplify the OKRs documentation, what should we expect to lose as the result? And will that affect our success with OKRs? Phew, beautiful question. So I would say the first thing that you would lose is maybe the insight into how the OKRs and specific then key results are progressing through time in the cycle. For example, with using a professional tool, we had some functionalities that we were trying to remind people to use on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, to give the information how far have they progressed with creating certain value. If you would simplify it brutally to the Word document or Confluence page or something, it would be much harder to really track this fulfillment through the cycle. You would probably just get the end-point evaluation. Sure. I don't know if I explain.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, but for us, that was the realization when with the tool and without the tool, because we also had the Jira experiment, which really it created transparency, but it was too cluttered that after a couple of cycles, it was just a false transparency. And once we cut down on Jira before moving to the professional tool, we cut down to just a simple Confluence page, which was okay, simpler, but there was no interaction with it.
Yeah,
it was just a static document. Yeah. And yeah, that was it. And what was the other part? And will that affect? Yeah, well, yeah. I would say it would not affect the true success of OKRs if we manage to fix these bigger things that I was talking about. Remember, I said at the beginning, the biggest value of OKRs is in these discussions, that the people who create the value sit together and define what is it that's most important. And here, if you can have fancy tools, you can have simple tools, but if these discussions are not something that is important for the teams and that excites and motivates them, give them this possibility of having this intrinsic motivation because they are now helping somebody with the value creation, it's not going to be a success. So coming back to the basics, these most important things of really having this as a and now when I talked with the guys from Google about the implementation, they told us actually that they don't have any tool. They stopped using everything. They just have Word documents for notes from these discussions. And
Wow.
yeah, so I would say it is much lesser importance if people really understand what is the value behind the OKRs.
Okay, thank you. That was helpful.
Thanks. Okay.
And we still have one more question from Bojan.
Where?
We'll get to see the personal OKRs.
Yeah. So thank you for these ones. I just wanted to wrap up with the. Okay, I made a mistake in the presentation. But yeah, if some of the wisdoms, if leadership does not invest and show it is important, nobody will do so. We talked about it a little bit, but definitely I experienced it. And also it's not only about the talk, they need to walk the talk. And this means that they need to invest energy into creating the meaningful objectives and key results on the company level. We had bullshit objectives and key results on the company level. And because we had them like that, nobody else was willing to invest into creating the good quality ones because they had these to look upon. OKRs should be looked at as a set of hypotheses. So they should not be connected again to they are hard set goals. They are the basis for your most important conversations. And what I also noticed, that the companies who behave as a collection of small startups, they benefit the most because they follow these value creation streams. And for me, it was a crucial question when I asked myself, are these teams that I work with really empowered teams? Because the empowered teams benefit the most out of the OKRs. When I say empowered, I mean the teams who have the ability to decide how will they create this value that is most important for their customer, internal, external. Do they have the knowledge? Do they have the freedom, autonomy to do that? And yeah, definitely in many cases I found that there are not this team is not actually empowered team. And then this is the quote that I showed to the HR upon that message from my colleague from Andy Grove, that it is not, OKRs are not a legal document upon which to base a performance review, but just one input used to determine how well an individual is doing. And this input is only indirect through the feedback process. I don't have a better solution for connection of the OKRs to the performance evaluation. If you do, please share. But yeah, this is it. And then in the private life, I started using them early on, and it really helps me and my partner. So we set the OKRs together, and we keep it simple. And I can just show maybe quickly in the Miro board. I'm a big Miro fan. How it looks like. but oh, let's say I haven't been on Zoom in a long time. In my private life, I use just a simple structure, and yeah, for me and my partner, it's easy because we have me, OKR coach, but we define first the segments that are most important for us to set targets in, to set objectives within, such as career, activism, community, business of my spouse, fitness, and then we together define what is it that we want to actually do, achieve there, and why. So, for example, for new initiatives, it is then defining as best as we can what will be the measures for success, that upon this period of time that we are observing, we can say, okay, we did a good job, but also to give us the guidance through the time. And we have these regular cycles upon the Sunday evenings that we reflect. We define the backlog with items for the next week, based on these. But yeah, this is something that I do. I now have the Miro board. Before, I had the sticky notes in my living room flying all around, and yeah, it is something that I am grateful to OKRs for, because they provided me the guidance into defining what really matters. Did you see my screen?
Well, no, actually, we
Oh.
thought that you're actually preparing to show us. Okay, now it's visible. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's not funny now, I know.
Yeah, so these are the segments that we define, the yellow ones, and then within them we basically, okay, career, for me it was something about the organizational psychology. So what do I mean by it? You know, I wrote for myself 2 organizational psychology book reviews. I've held 2 boosted sessions in my company. I read 2 blogs per week from a newsletter I'm still subscribed to. And yeah, a stretch goal or ambitious one, yeah, I didn't achieve yet. But yeah, you get the point. From these, we define then the backlog with the initiatives for the week, and yeah, also schedule then the timings so that we can actually have time to fulfill the tasks from the backlog. But yeah, thanks for sticking up with me. Thanks for your questions, and yeah, I hope you will continue trying to make these OKRs something beautiful rather than yeah, nightmare.
Well,
Yeah.
this was very cool, I have to say. So, guys, I think you've been part of one very interesting meetup tonight. And if this topic was interesting to you, seeing and feeling expressions that Stefan actually make during his speech and during his explanations, then you can imagine how it looks working with him every day, which I experienced recently. So all I can say is I can confirm his passion to OKR topic, and I do really recommend his work and his passion due to that topic to inspire you to learn more about this topic, because it is very interesting topic even for me, and I don't know a lot about this OKR. So one more time, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed. See you next month. And I would ask Stefan to stay a little bit after this session. And I want to wish you a good night and pleasant weekend. Enjoy in autumn. And see you next month. If you want to ask or to collaborate with Stefan in some reason, you can add him on his LinkedIn profile I've sent in the chat. Thank you so much, guys. A lot of hugs and hearts from Agile humans, and see you next month. Good night.
Everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.